Plains. That's the actual name of the company, but yeah.
I like it. Look at that background, and there she is. There's the Arrival. Hey, I gotta ask you real quick, because you messaged me and you said we had something wrong in the components when we broke it down. So what did we have wrong, just out of curiosity?
So it's Ecuadorian wrapper and binder, and Nicaraguan, Dominican, and Brazilian in the filling.
It was hard to find stats on that cigar. I probably should have just messaged you and asked you.
Well, I know the one write-up I did, and what was I forgot the guy who did it. And even though I texted him and let him know what it was, he still wrote it up wrong.
Wrong. And I probably found that person's write-up and just
probably.
Yeah, that works too. Okay, I'm super excited to have you on. This is like, I'm not kidding when I say this is the most excited I've been for a podcast in quite some time. Just because we weren't able to connect before, and sorry about that. I didn't really actually mean to go hard in the paint on you. So we're just
hey, listen, guess what? And the crazy part is my sister, my little sister messaged me and was like, "Did you see the podcast?" And I was like, "No, I hadn't seen it." And she's like, "Look, they don't like you, but they like your cigar." I was like,
No, we do like it. And so you and I connected because of Chris Spencer. How do you know Chris Spencer?
Yeah. By the way? So me and him played in Seattle together.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah, so that's my guy, whatever. So every time, so when we go back for like reunion weekend, we go back for alumni weekend, we always link up and smoke cigars. And so I gave him, we set out and smoked the last year that we went, and I sent him a couple. And when he smoked it, he was like, he liked it, and he was like, "Man, I got some guys that I wanna suit him to." That, and if you're talking about y'all, whatever, that have a big podcast, whatever, that would be pretty cool, whatever. So I was like, yeah, definitely. So I got to get out there to Nashville to go see him.
Yeah, same. Yeah. It's been a while since I've seen him. I met him at a manufacturer's headquarters, and I remember when he came in, because I was sitting down and he walked through the door, and I was like,
"You're really big."
Christ. He shook my hand. This is the weirdest thing I think I could probably ever say about another man. I felt comfort in his handshake because it was like a security blanket. Like if someone paid him just to hold babies for the rest of his life, because it's an equal parts protection and equal parts comfort, it's the craziest thing I've ever seen. His hand was like a baseball glove, like a catcher's mitt, just surrounding my hand. And I was like, I felt like I needed both my hands just to kind of equalize the situation. He's a big boy.
No, Chris is a big dude, man. He was a starting center for us out there in Seattle.
God, that's wild. That's cool that you guys played together. I was wondering how that connection happened. You didn't actually tell me. He just kind of he handed me off. He's like, "Here, talk to Ken now." And I was just like, "All right, cool, yeah." So, hey, I do have a question to ask you. Obviously, you have background in football. That's what you played for Seattle. You played for the Cowboys. You played as a safety. You played in Arkansas, which is totally dope. Trust me, I've watched the highlight reels. I've seen that Stallworth hit like everybody else has, and it literally blows my mind. Every time I watch it, I'm like, well, he died at least for 2 seconds. Like 2 seconds, he was clinically dead, and then somehow woke back up on the field. Because that is one of the nastiest hits I've seen. It's crazy.
Hey man, and the crazy part, and that was my rookie year, my first game.
Oh shit,
that's wild.
Yeah.
Did he ever say anything to you about that hit?
And listen, so they came to Seattle that day to play, and by the time they got back home, it was on Sports Center. So I was out with some of my friends, and he ended up calling and was like, "Ken, it's fucked up, whatever. They got me all over Sports Center, man." Yeah, so he definitely felt a certain way in the next couple of years after that. Every time it ends up coming back around, they say he says something about it, whatever. But it comes back around every now and then.
Oh, rightfully so. So here's the thing, though. Like nowadays, it's not a dirty hit, but I feel like refs nowadays would call that. I mean, there would be a penalty on that for sure.
Oh, we talk about, like, me and Roy Williams talk about it all the time, but there is no way we can play in the league right now with how things are and how clean they're trying to make everything. Like, you can make a decision on a hit like that, whatever, in split second when you're running full speed. Like, you can actually change your trajectory to hit somebody lower, or it's crazy how they try to rule it now with it. So nowadays those hits right there, you can kick out the game immediately.
Yeah, which is it's frustrating to watch. I think most football fans would agree, and I get the protection of the players and all that. I understand that. Like you start to understand more about CTE and the repercussions of that, but also you eliminate part of what makes the game. So
definitely,
yeah, it's a weird kind of catch-22. I did have a question for you, football wise. So I've been saying this for a long time about myself. When I was about 27 years old, I came to this realization that my potential professional football career was coming to an end. And I was thinking about
at 27.
At 27. Yeah, I was at 27. I was like, I either got to shit or get off the pot. I'm either going to make a team or I'm not going to make a team. And I'm going to ask you this question because you're a safety. I always felt that I would make a good defensive back just based on my build. I mean, I'm a smaller guy. I got a little muscle. Hold on. See. I got some definition in my legs a little bit. So I was wondering from your perspective, I can run a 40 and probably about 7.5 seconds. I rival Tom Brady as far as a full time. Do I have a position on the field at 27? Can I make a team? Is it possible?
Listen, there are holders that run slower than that. So you still have the potential to make something happen. I mean, there are punters that probably run slower than that too. So there's always a position for a guy that you don't have to run the 40 and not even worry about it. You're good to go.
Yes. I like those non-contact rolls too. Those look fun. I like the ones where it's like your chances of getting hit are very minimal.
Listen, maybe 3 or 4 times in a 15-year career will a punter or a kicker or something like that have to worry about. That's on kickoff team when those guys end up splitting everything and they got to make that, I want to try to make a tackle, but I really not try to make a tackle type of look where they just dive at the legs. Yeah, I mean, that's
the only punter I've seen who like really gets into it is like Pat McAfee. Like he was a guy that was just a bulldog and would just go after people. You're like, what?
Well, we had a guy in Dallas. I can't remember his name right now. But we had a guy in Dallas that he would literally like try to beat the other guys down the field because he would hit. Now, this cat stayed in the gym. He was in the weight room and he was yoked up. He was a cat that he didn't mind hitting at all. So I mean, he was he was rare when you think about kickers, because he was a cat that wanted to go down there and get some stats. So, I mean, other than that, them guys or whatever, they over there sipping their Starbucks or whatever and relax.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, is from a coach's perspective, is that frowned upon, or do they just like let those guys go? Like, hey, if you want to throw it down, go for it.
No, with him, I think they sort of knew when they drafted him that he was that type of guy. So they didn't try to shy away from him being who he was. But normally, the guys will tell you, that's just like cornerbacks. Cornerbacks, you know what you're getting from this guy. So if he's not a guy, if he's a cover corner and you know he's not going to be a guy that's going to stick it in there, then you know what you're getting, that he's going to olay a few tackles here and there.
Right. So you were not, your nickname was the Hammer Hamlin, which I think that is indicative of how you played the game. Even when I was looking at some of your college highlights, I was like, holy shit. Like I'd be terrified. And here's the thing, like you think like in terms of like elite athlete, and by the way, obviously you can just call my bro science on this and I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, but I think about elite athletes and you think about like the top 1%. I think about like what you did in your career, just from what I know and just like the stats alone. I'm like, you were at the tippy top in terms of like athleticism on the field. That's wild.
Man, it's crazy because I think about like my journey, high school, even in middle school. I mean, I was on the bench until like my 10th grade year. Like, I mean, because we moved around a lot, and I'm not just going to put it just on that, but I wasn't developed yet to be, where I was later on in my career. So I had to go through a lot of growing pains of actually even getting on the field. And then, but I think that sort of developed, like I was telling the guys yesterday, that sort of developed like this big ass chip on my shoulder. I probably had a whole bag on my shoulder of chips, to where I just, I always had the mentality that once I earned that spot, or once I earned it, I wasn't gonna let anybody else take it. Right. And I worked extra hard. I mean, and especially the biggest thing for me is that it didn't matter if I didn't mind guys, helping guys. You had some guys like Brett Favre would say, I'm not here to teach or to like coddle somebody, whatever at the position. My thing is I don't mind helping. I don't mind giving you pointers. I don't mind helping. But my thing is that mentally, I'm going to be faster in reaction than a lot of the guys are who might be faster than me. So it didn't really matter on that, because you can run a 4.2 when you're running a 40, but if you can't run a 4.2 on the field because of all the things that are going on, then that 4.2 really doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. I do have, so obviously at some point we got to transition into cigars, and I have that segue built in, but I am so curious, and I'm sure you get like the same questions all the time in terms of your football career. I'm not going to
it's cool.
Questions. So cool. Here's what I want to ask. So Ed Reed, NFL safety, into cigars. If you were to fight Ed Reed, who would win, do you think?
I always got to put the chips on me. Now, Ed is a shorter, stockier cat, man. So I mean, he's a different type of dude, man. Ed a hit, but he's known for like his roaming ability and knowing where the ball might be and doing what he does on the field. So his mental is a certain way too. So I mean that would be a great battle, because I know he's thinking. I know he's like me. He uses his head more than he wants to use his body, whatever. So and of course at the position, I mean that dude is the elite type of safety that you would think when you think about this position itself. Right. I mean, you got certain guys that you want to model yourself after. You want to do certain things. You sort of pick certain things from certain guys, and especially later on in my career, when I started seeing that just hitting guys wasn't gonna get me to the Pro Bowl, I was like, listen, I got to change this up a little bit. I got to start going for the ball, because just laying guys out, whatever, is not going to get me there. So that's one of the guys where you look at, okay, him, Palomalu, guys like that, where it's like, okay, these cats are getting 6, 7, 8 interceptions a year. I got to start doing something like that to really get my name to where I want it to be. So it would be close. Let me say that. I ain't gonna knock my guy, because that's my dude. But it'd be a good one.
Have you ever run into Ed Reed, just like in terms of cigars and stuff? Because he's obviously he like frequents the Placencia factory and all that all the time. So
so we I mean I know Ed pretty well, and so when I'm in Atlanta or in Miami or something, we'll link up. We linked up a few times and discussed, the whole cigar thing, what he had going on with his cigars before he decided where he wanted to go with things as far as factories, him having his blend and doing what he was doing. He's a real, like, you think of certain guys that either have come out with cigars or who have thought about it or who smoke cigars. He's one that he's legit, when it comes to the knowledge of in the cigar game.
Yeah, he's deep into it. I want to talk about that later too, in terms of like, the celebrity aspect. I remember the first time you and I were just going back and forth, just messaging. I said something about Ray Lewis, which we'll get on that topic too. But that's one thing in terms of like, there's an admiration I have for the guys who, go through the process, the understanding, tour the factories, roll a cigar, heaven forbid. So, but we'll talk about that. But I do have some more questions. What's the weirdest thing you've seen in a locker room?
Yeah. Jesus.
Oh man, the weirdest thing. It could be a lot of different things, man. But because you got guys who are free spirited, I would say. They don't mind certain things going on or whatever. But I mean, I think that for the most part, in the organizations that I've been in, guys have been pretty straightforward. I mean, I played with guys like John Randall, who was a crazy. He was beyond like wired different. I mean, and for a guy who was undersized to play that position, you had to be a little bit different. So I mean, John would sit in his locker and like just like he was in a blind hunting, and a trainer would walk by and he would just go tackle him and put him in a submission hold, like stuff like that. And I mean, and it didn't matter who it was. Like, I mean, it could have been the oldest trainer out there. He put him in a submission hold. You see this guy turning red and pink. I mean, and he would hold it for the longest amount of time. So like that type of stuff is like, wow. Like, I mean, it's John Randall. So when he lets you go, it's not like you're gonna fight him. I mean, you got to just walk off. You got to walk away. Tough. Like, done deal.
He's gonna force that tap.
We've had some interesting cats. I mean, that I played with that are, I would just say, wired different, where you don't mess with them. You understand that's not a fight that's going to happen. In order for you to win that, it's got to be something else involved. So like, it's like, okay, I'm gonna leave this guy alone.
Just that kind of crazy. Was there anyone that had like weird superstitions? I always think that what comes to my mind is like Pedro Serrano from Major League. Jobu. Like, is there anybody that had weird stuff like that they would do?
Ritualistic.
We definitely had guys that wore the same socks or of course like the same cleats, or jock straps and stuff like that. Now that, to me, that's not what I'm gonna ride with, whatever, because I ain't gonna have my body, whatever, end up getting rashes and stuff.
Yeah, you don't want like ringworm. It's just nasty.
But we had guys like that, man. And then like one of the guys I played with in Seattle, Chike Okafor, he was a guy that was into like martial arts and stuff like that. So he would do these routines, like doing stretch lines and just in his locker and stuff. And I would start mimicking some of the stuff. And he was another guy that was sort of wired different, but he knew I was playing with him. So he would like play along or whatever. But like, guys didn't really mess with him either, whatever, because he had a thing with it where, and it worked for him. So I never knocked him on doing it, but he had a ritual that he would always go through. And it was almost like he was mimicking like being in a fight or preparing for one or something, whatever. But it was just different.
Yeah, I would feel like the first time you would see that, you'd be like, what in the fuck is this guy doing?
Oh, when you see him up there and everybody else is doing like hanging, like hamstring stretches, and he's over here doing some ritual from like Karate Kid or whatever, you're like, okay, yeah, leave him alone.
Leave him alone. I'm telling you, that kind of crazy is not to be messed with. Chris always said that if he ever gets into a fight, he's just going to strip down naked and just start like going after the guy, because you can't match that kind of.
Listen, if I take the time to get completely naked as well as take off my socks in 20-degree weather and then start smacking myself in preparation for the fight, no one's gonna fuck with me. They're gonna be like, no. I don't want any part of that.
No, I probably just go home and just say I won the fight, whatever. Like, no, it happened. Hey, I won. Don't worry about it. Like, yeah. Oh, I whooped him. Oh, it was crazy.
Crackhead for sure. Got naked.
If a cat does that, I don't even want to tell that story. Like, you wouldn't believe what he did. Like, no. And then if you're naked and I actually did fight you, then it's like, no, what could happen? No,
what are you gonna fight a naked guy? Exactly.
I'm not doing that. Yeah, you put your nuts in my face or whatever. I ain't got time for that. I ain't got time for that.
Oh man. Okay,
what just happened to like? I mean, the most common ritual I would think of is just like plugging in headphones and listening to some like empowering music, right? Like that seems like a very common.
That would be most people. I mean, but like, so John Randall, another guy, I had to bring him up again because he was one guy. So then when I played, we had those the little portable DVD players. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. So everybody would still plug in and listen to music and stuff like that. But John didn't have headphones on. He played his music loud, like it didn't matter, and no coach, nobody would come to him and say, "Turn your music down." So John, and he would be listening to like rock, like Michael Jackson, like stuff like that. And it's jamming, and he's on the treadmill before the game running. He started putting that black paint on, and once he puts that on, you leave him alone because he's in his own zone. So that's one cat, whatever, that you let him hear his music, whatever, and you keep it moving.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's probably a smart move. Yeah. That's wild. Like, even if you're a coach, I'd be like, yeah, no, I'm out. It's not even worth the confrontation.
No. You walk straight by him like you don't even hear it. Yeah, you walk straight like, nope, don't even know what's going on.
And the best part is, he has some sort of self-awareness around that too. Like, you probably think like, you keep fucking walking.
Oh, we had one guy, and I can't remember his name right now, but he played offensive line. He was actually our starting tackle for a little bit. And he would go missing for a week. Like, he would literally, nobody knew where he was for a week. Like, and this is during the season. Like
Dennis Rodman of the NFL.
Basically. And the crazy part is that he wouldn't be at practice all week, and then one week he showed up to the stadium like he's about to play, like ready to, like in his locker, putting his pads in his pants, and Holmgren had to send somebody else to go tell him, like, yeah, go ahead and go home. Like, you're not playing. Like, go ahead and go home. Yeah. Oh, man. I mean, but it's characters like that. My thing is this, whatever, like football is modern day gladiator type of sport. So, I mean, you got to have guys, especially You think about these offensive linemen that are banging heads every play. You think about defensive players that are going at it every play. You can't be just, I mean, you're not wired the same as everybody else. You got to have a little something different in your tank, whatever. So, I mean, you're going to have some guys that are a little bit more than just a little bit wired different. They're all the way there. So, I mean, you'll see it here and there.
That's interesting too. And I was thinking about like watching like Hard Knocks, and then you always get a couple guys that they feature on Hard Knocks that are just the crazy ones on the team. And you're like, Jesus Christ.
Oh yeah.
Like
I think about like John Henderson, who played in Jacksonville, and he would have the trainer slap him like 3 times before he went out on the field. Jeez. I mean, and like literally, if he didn't slap him hard, like he would go at the dude, like he would make the dude slap him hard. Like that got him going. God. I don't need nobody slapping me, whatever, get me going. Like I that right there. So because then I'm thinking about that guy, not who's on the field. I'm thinking this dude just slapped the hell out of me. I got to go get him back. So no, but guys will do some different stuff, man, to get themselves motivated. I mean, I think just understanding like the crowds out there. I love intros. So like going out doing intros, even if we were in away games, you think about it, it's 60, 70, 80,000 people. And sometimes, especially in college, it's 100,000 people who are booing you. I mean, that's still 100,000 people who are focused on you at that moment. So like that would get me riled up because, you know, my thing was always to quiet those 100,000. Right. Like I'm gonna find a way to quiet all of them. So I mean, it that motivated me more than anything. Especially, of course, when you're at home, especially playing in Seattle. Yeah, the crowd was just insane. I mean, we had one game. I think we were playing the Giants, and they had at least 8 to 10 false start penalties because the crowd was so loud. They investigated. They investigated, saying that we were pumping noise into the stadium.
That's what I was gonna ask you about. Was that there was the rumors of pumping noise, but people were saying no, the decibel level is just that high.
Seattle fans. I mean, and you think about it. There's still a couple of teams that still have true, like all out fans. I mean, you think about Kansas City. Seattle was one. Like Dallas had some fan base, a great fan base, whatever, in the old stadium, but the new stadium, a lot of those fans couldn't afford it. So it went to corporations now. Now you got people who really don't care about the game, but they're at the game because we can go to a football game. So, but in Seattle, it was true fans, man. And they every time that false start hit, they would get louder. They would get louder. They would get louder. I mean, to the point, a guy could be right next to me and couldn't hear me. I mean, like literally, you had to do nothing but signals the entire game on defense.
Yeah, that's wild. That would be so frustrating if you were an offense playing in Seattle. That would be so frustrating. I mean,
once you jump the first time, I mean, you are now you're worried because that guy is about to come off. Oh yeah, it's in your head all day long.
Yep, that's wild. If not football, and I know you're in cigars now, but if it weren't for football when you started, what would you be doing for a career?
Well, really. So baseball was my best sport. Now I'm from Memphis, and Memphis is a little bit urban. I would say that it's a little bit urban. So I didn't have like the coaching and the guidance around us to really get things directed. I mean, our baseball coach was appointed. They were in a staff meeting. They were just trying to figure out who was going. Everybody else, had their coaching. Baseball, basketball, football, track was already sort of picked out from years past, and they would always just pick a random cat to be our baseball coach. To the point where he would ask me certain days, like, who's going to pitch today, or who should pitch, who should play this position. Like, I'm in the 10th, 11th grade, or whatever, like 12th grade doing this. Like, so we didn't have that. But I mean, I excelled at baseball, man. It was but I got a scholarship in football, and to have to go through thinking about AAA and having to go through all these different steps. And I was like, scholarship or doing that. And I chose football for that. It worked out great. But if it wasn't sports though, I look at different business opportunities that I probably could have did. I mean, I would have been heavy in some type of business. Growing up, I wanted to be a veterinarian. I don't know how that would have worked out later on down the line, but I had pets and animals every day, all day at the house. I'd come home with something new. Me and my brothers come home with something to where my mom had to find somewhere to put everything. So we had a baby pool full of turtles and crawfish. We had a moving box full of snakes, and we'd bring home possums and birds. And one time we were some bad little kids, whatever. So one time we fought a duck for its eggs, and tried to hatch them ourselves. I mean, we did all type of stuff, man. So we always had the animals around. So who knows what would have happened, if football didn't really take off.
Yeah. And now, obviously, you've segued into cigars. We'll get to that. I have one last football question for you. What are the chances the Browns will go to the Super Bowl in the next 3 years?
See, I really try to understand what gets in their way, because I think offensively they have a good core group of people. I know Thomas retired, the offensive line, he retired. So of course replacing the offensive line and making sure. Oh man, I mean, 10 years, 10 Pro Bowls, 10 All Pros. I mean, you can't really beat it. So I look at what they have defensively. They still have a good staff, a good group of guys. I look at it as them hitting it at the right time. I mean, these teams can be great. There's so many teams that can be great, whatever. But if you don't hit that stride at the right time, whatever, I don't care if Pittsburgh last year. Right. You're 11-0.
So weird. What a weird outcome.
You start finding that struggle. And then, of course, the one team they didn't want to play in the playoffs was Cleveland, because Cleveland has a hellified running game. And then as long as Mayfield doesn't blow it, if you treat him, if he treats himself and thinks about it like Trent Dilfer when he was in Baltimore, just don't lose the game.
Right.
If you can sit there and get it to those receivers, everybody was saying whatever, they were so much better when Odell out the game. I don't care what anybody says. That talent, I don't care if you don't throw it to him.
You got to have
that talent on the field. Him on the field.
He pulls everyone else away from everyone else. That's what he does.
Exactly.
That's
exactly.
What he can do for the team.
I agree. So him on the field, of course, Landry, the running back situation, you got a good tight end. You got positions to where you can make plays. I think they have a chance. Of course, getting a couple pieces here and there that will add to it. And with those guys being there and them attracting other guys and having those conversations with guys to come here for a year or two and try to win one, there's the possibility that it's there.
I hope they do it. I mean, I've been waiting way.
I mean, hey, listen, my family is in Cleveland, whatever. So I know they love. I mean, they always talking about, especially when they were winning this past year, they were on the wagon heavy. Now, of course, they were going to have to go through a lot. You still got to go through Kansas City, whatever, and deal with them. So, and Baltimore, and so you got some challenges, but they're going in the right direction.
I hope so. I mean, I hope this was a good year. It was a good test. Just to see how the offense could run, operationally much more. So I like Kevin Stefanski as a coach. That guy is he's figuring things out. The defense, a little suspect sometimes, that need to tighten some stuff up, but man, I'm like, oh, we gotta make a run. It's our time. Anyway. So I got to ask you this question. You migrate, obviously away in your football career. Is that when cigars started? When did cigars start for you? Like, when did you smoke your first cigar? Like, I feel like everybody remembers that experience. So what was that for you?
Well, my first cigar, and it was more, so beginning when I first started, it was more of a celebratory thing. So we win a game, go smoke cigars, whatever, and chill. So my first cigar actually, and this is when I didn't know anything about cigars. Whatever. I went to a gas station, grabbed a cigar, and actually this gas station had some nice cigars, which I still didn't know at the time. My first cigar was a Padron 64.
Oh shit!
And,
that's a great cigar.
Exactly. And I went there, and you know what I did? I looked at it, I said, which one's the most expensive? Okay, most expensive. Let me get that one. Because I'm like, hey, look, it got to be good. It's the most expensive one here, so let me get those. So we used to smoke just to celebrate different things, whatever, kick back. We go on trips, we would celebrate, especially vacation, celebrate. And then, so that was, I want to say that was like around, I mean, it's been about 15 years of me smoking cigars. So that started with that. Then it started getting to more toward the end of my career. I started to really go to the cigar lounge, sit down and, interact with people without smoking cigars, have those conversations. Then at the end of my career, I started going to some of the different cigar events, started going with the owners at the lounge that I'm at, International House of Stogies. I started going with them to IPCPR, going to Pro Cigar. And then I sit there and heard about when I was at IPCBR, I ran by a booth and it was the Pro Cigar Fest. And I was like, in Santiago in DR. I was like, man, this cool little trip. I mean, every factory that I can think of that I smoke is there. So ended up first year was like telling all the guys we need to go there and waited on them. And of course you wait on other people, it doesn't happen, whatever. So ended up not going. So I told them, I don't care what y'all doing, I'm going the following year. So I ended up going by myself. And probably the best thing I could have did was because there wasn't no other interferences of me like hanging out with the fellas or anything. I was there. I was locked into every event that was going on, and had a blast. I mean, it was great. Met so many different people from across the world, and I mean, from that point on, I was like, oh, I'm here every year.
That's
so
awesome.
I started going back, and that's when I sort of got the. I mean, I started talking with the guys, whatever. I started talking with the guys up there, and the same guys that I see there, I would see at IPCPR. So they sort of started knowing me. I started knowing them, different owners. I mean, I think like me and Lito, Antonio with LFD. Actually, sit there and went to the Fuente. I went to the Fuente factory when I was out there, and we did the school experience of the school that they built down there, and started talking with the guys, and I'm talking to Carlito. I'm like, so, you know, telling him, you know, my interest in his cigars and this, that, and the other. And he's like, oh, you know what? When you come back, you know, we can go to the factory where I can show you the factory. And I'm like, okay. So he gives me his number, and you know, they use WhatsApp and everything with all the international stuff. And the whole time that he's putting the number in, I'm like, he's giving me a fake number. This is definitely not his number. Like, I mean, because I'm thinking, you think about the guys in the game, whatever. Like Carlito is
he's at the top.
He's the like the godfather of this thing right now. So I ended up going back, and I ended up texting him. He was like, "Oh, Ken, I'm not here." Responded right back, and I was like, "Oh shit, this is crazy." He was like, "But my guy is there. I'm gonna get you linked up." So he got me into the factory. We did that whole experience. And while I was there, I started just talking with some of the factory owners about the possibility. Because right before that, I actually ordered some Cuban seeds from a guy in Alaska, and got them to the house, and I started growing tobacco in my backyard.
That's awesome.
Dude, that is sweet.
Yeah. So that, and I didn't know what was going to happen. I'm like, I don't even know if this soil, if this temperature, and I'm thinking like, okay, this is similar to their temperature out there. So let me see. So it grew tall, but I didn't really know the steps of everything. So I just grew it.
I got it.
Like, okay, did that. All right, cool. Everything's good. So I pulled it and just left it alone. The following year came, and I see in my garden, I'm like, oh, there's something growing, but I haven't planted anything. The seeds had fell, and they were growing back. Oh, and so shit. I went back. I remember I go back to the IPCBR, and I talked with some of the guys, and I went to, I knew Nurka with Reyes. So I was talking with her, and I started talking to one of her growers, and we sat down for like 30 minutes. He's giving me the different steps of what to do next, this, that, and the other. So I go home, I'm going through the steps. I crop, I cut them, I'm hanging them, everything. So all this is going on, and they sort of see, I think the best part about it is that they saw my interest level in what was going on as well. And not just on, okay, you know, you want a cigar and you want to put your name on it and this, that, and the other. They saw that I was going through these different steps. So when I came to them and was talking about the possibility of doing a cigar, they were open. I mean, I went to La Hora, and I hadn't met Guillermo. He wasn't there. And so I went to La Hora, did the tour, and we were at a gala that evening. And Guillermo came over to me and was like, "I heard you're interested in possibly doing your cigar." And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, I'm seriously thinking about it." And he was like, "Well, look, we exchanged numbers. I'm gonna give you my schedule. You come back down, and we'll sit down and we'll really look at, you know, putting some things together." And so that right there with him, Nurka, Manolo with Casada, a couple of other factories, I went back and just started going to different ones and just doing like different blending sessions, and started narrowing down like who could the possibility be or who I would go with. And while I was there, I mean, me and Guillermo and then I met Manuel Anoa, who's the master blender for La Aura. It organically came together where that was the right fit, because he would literally, and think about it. So Guillermo is like, if you talking about Dons, like Godfathers, like Guillermo's like the quiet Don. Like, he doesn't talk much, but this dude here is big time. I mean, I think they say, like, I guess Jeff Bezos with Amazon is like 1% of the U.S. It might be more now because of how he's doubled and tripled his value, but at the time was like 1% of our like U.S. income. And Guillermo and the Leon family is like 10% of the Dominican income.
Wild.
Like,
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. But the dude is so laid back and chill, and just like, he's so just cool with everything. Like, he would come and pick me up. We'd go to the factory, get done, take me home. And him and Manuel were always asking me, like, what do you have? What plans do you have? And I always tell them, listen, I have plans to not have plans. What are we doing? And they would always, so we'd go, I'll pick you up at 7:30. We go to dinner. And so we just developed a relationship, man, that was just, it was just natural. It wasn't anything forced. And then when we got into the whole cigar thing, it just became even more natural, because me and Manny just was so cool, and it worked out so well that it was a natural fit to say, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and do my cigars with La Aura.
So the Arrival hasn't been out long, right? This was a end of 2020 release technically. So it's only been on the market for a little while. When did the process start in terms of blending and even conceptualizing what you wanted to do? Like, what year and time frame was that?
Well, this is almost a 3-year process. And you add the pandemic and everything else to it.
I know, Jesus, man.
Yeah. So I wanted to launch. So, and then before the pandemic hit, I remember my last time going down there, the possibility of launching was like January, February of last year. And so we had been working on it. And the best part about, to me, is that I got to actually be a part of the entire process. And I decided on everything, and I really sort of created what I wanted. So I got to go down there and be right there, me and Manny blending, smoking crazy amount of tobacco to actually, finalize what we had. Because when I first did it, I had a Brazilian filler, and it was a good stick. And then we just started playing with different things, whatever. And so the one thing that I did before I even started this process, me and one of the guys, Jonathan Reed, at the shop, we started going like on Cigar Scanner and looking at the top 5 cigars that we liked and ones that we smoke often. And it sort of came to that Ecuadorian wrapper was on all of them. And so I was like, you know what, this has to be on the stick, like, period. And then thought about it, like, I like this so much, whatever, let's double down with it. So we switched the Brazilian filler to the Brazilian binder to the Ecuadorian binder. And I can remember the first time we ended up rolling like 30 of them, did a bundle, and brought them to Manny's his office, and he had got on the phone. So we had grabbed 2 of them out of him and started smoking, and I'm smoking, and I'm not even really into the first third, and I'm already like, this is nice. Like, I like this. Yeah, I like this is it. And so while we're smoking, I'm looking at Manny, and I'm trying to get a nod, okay, whatever from him. Like, because I'm thinking, I'm like, listen, I'm fresh in this, whatever. Even though I've been smoking for a long time, this guy has 30 plus years of knowledge and experience in this, whatever. If he gives me that yes, then we're good to go. And he's on the phone, he's smoking, and I'm like, I don't even know if he's paying attention to the damn smoke. I'm sort of getting upset, like say something. And so I can recall, while I'm smoking, he looked at me, he put the phone out, he was like, I think we got something. Nice. And he picked it back up, whatever, kept smoking. I was like, yeah, that's what I wanted to hear. And because through the entire process, I was bringing samples back, and I was giving it to certain guys that I knew that were, smokers, that guys that actually, paid attention to the smoke, not guys that just love the interaction of putting it to their mouth and puffing on it, but actually, getting notes and understanding what's going on and getting some feedback. So I was always getting some pretty good feedback. When I brought these back, it was like, I mean, from guys that smoke light sticks to guys that smoke full body sticks, they all were like, I like it. This is nice. So that was like the beginning of really the entire process coming together and saying, okay, now we have a stick. Now let's move to the next process of marketing with a different stuff. I went and had a marketing meeting with Johnny, who works with La World, who deals with boxes, bands, and all that type of stuff. And we sat down and so he doesn't speak really any English, and I'm choppy with my Spanish. So we had an interpreter, and so we were in the meeting for a good 5 or 6 hours. And after the first hour of us going through the interpreter and really just getting the information, after that hour, it was almost like we locked in. Like he knew what I was talking about. I knew what he was talking about. He had that vision. He seen what I was trying to do, and we just going back and forth. And we ended up coming. I mean, the box. So I think you've seen the box. So the box I have. So what I wanted to do, I didn't want to slap my name on it. Didn't want to like sort of just be so obvious with different stuff. I wanted the box to be presented a certain way, but it still includes some of my journey and my life in it. So I got a cowboy blue lid on it.
That's true.
And then I got one right here, whatever. So did the cowboy blue lid. I don't know if you can see it because of the background.
Oh, but yeah, right there.
And then with the inside, to bring in the Seattle Seahawks, I wanted to make it like it was sitting in a nest. So Seahawks sitting in the nest, whatever. So I was like, listen, is there a possibility you could do this? And he was like, I think we can do that. Because they, with the stems that they break off and they don't use, it's just sitting in a bag most of the time or sitting in a box somewhere. And they normally either sell it off to somebody else or they throw it away or whatever. And it was like, okay, we can use those stems, build a bridge around it and make it work. So I was like, wow, boom, that's perfect. And even with not to keep talking whatever, but even with the name, just to bring in the band part of it. So initially, like you said, my nickname was the Hammer, and that was, of course, I wanted that to be the name of the stick. I wanted that to be the name.
I read that.
Yeah, man, I'm like, listen, this is it. Like, there's no thinking about it. The Hammer, and what I was going to do, and I was actually going to take some and sort of show respect, whatever, to the Dominican, the Spanish side of things, and call it El Martillo, the Spanish version of the Hammer.
That's sweet.
So I'm like, and I was like, that sounds sexy. I'm like, that, it rolls off the tongue real nice.
That's a dope name.
Oh man, so yeah. Hey, look. So I'm like, this is perfect. As soon as I got into the lawyers, they were like, no. Like,
wait, why?
Can't do it. Well, it's another company that has an affiliation with the Hammer. And the first thing, I actually talked with Antonio with LFD. And I was sitting in his office and I was telling him my ideas and just talking about different stuff. And he was like, yeah, Ken, you're probably gonna have a problem with Padron because their whole concept of their grandfather or great grandfather who started the whole thing of using a hammer and this, that, and the other. And of course they have the Little Hammer is one of their cigars, whatever. But they weren't even really the issue. There was another company that had the Hammer as a part of one of their names and stuff like that. Then it was a wine forest. This is when I learned about all this trademarking stuff and everything. Yeah. Exactly. Then it was another company that was a wine company that had, so trademarking it was going to be tough. So I was like, okay. So I started shooting a guy like one name here, one name there. He was like, Ken, don't shoot me no one name, anything no more. Sit down for about a week or two, come up with like 25 to 30 names and send them to me, then we'll go through them. And so I'm like writing stuff down when I'm at the house. If I'm out and think of something, I'm putting it in my notes on my phone. And then, so I come up with like 25 names and I shoot it to him. He cuts out like 18 of them off the bat. Like, no. I'm like, God, stop. I'm getting frustrated. I'm like, I really thought about these names.
This is a week. This is a week.
Oh, man. So, but the Arrival stayed on the list. And, I started thinking, okay, and then once he said, okay, these four, he gave me maybes on a couple of them. Maybe, yes, maybe. I'm like, okay. But the Arrival, I thought about it, I'm like, you know what, that fits. And I was thinking, I'm like, you know what, because when I played, or even just in my general life, whatever, when you show up, you want to have an impact and you want to have an impression, you want to leave an impression. And I was like, that's that Arrival. That's that with the cigar, I want, when they smoke or whatever, it leaves an impression and an impact on them. So I was like, that's it. This is what we're going with. And so with the band, I was still able to bring in that hammer sort of impact. If you look at the band, it has that shattering effect. So like when that hammer hits and it has that shattering effect, that sort of brings that still into the play. So I was like, man, this is perfect. Let's roll with it. So that part of the meeting, whatever, we knocked out the band in a little bit of time to where he saw what I wanted to do with that. He had ideas. I mean, and then I don't know if you've seen the video. We did a 1-minute video. I was back in Santiago and the film crew came and we did a video, and Johnny had this thought like immediately when we were in the meeting, like, okay, I got an idea for a video. And the video, if you haven't seen it yet, I'll shoot it to you. But the video is badass with him. No words, all about just showing the transition from football to cigars.
Oh, that's
and
dope.
then it just about. Oh man, I'm gonna send it to you. It is pretty dope. Whatever, like how he came up with this idea, and we did it. I mean, we were in the studio for probably about 4 or 5 hours, whatever. He just wanted to get. I gotta get another look. I gotta get another view. I gotta get another. And these cats are not speaking no English. Like we're working it out.
You're just
we are. Yeah, we're working exactly. Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, okay. But I mean, so with every step, man, it was just like, okay, man, this is like it became like a fun journey because everything started to play out. We're like, okay, now I'm getting closer, another step closer. And then it got to 2020 where I was like, okay, it's about to launch, and then pandemic hit. And it didn't even put a pause. It put a straight stop to everything. Like I would call Manny like, hey, y'all opening up soon? Or y'all got, he's like, no, we are, like they were shut down. Right. And then of course, they still have a demand with all the other cigars, they do. So it was like, it was backed up like forever. And so I stopped. And of course, the biggest thing about that is that everybody's sort of seeing me just from Instagram and social media itself. Like they saw the journey as well. They saw me down there in the factory. They saw me. So they're all asking me now too, like, when is it coming? Like, what's happening? And I'm like, listen, I told the people, like, don't ask me no more. Like, I can't give you an answer. Like the pandemic has shut everything down. So once we got to, around October, we started seeing that things were starting to open back up and things were going to get going. Had to make changes, which slowed it down too, because I had to go from a 20 count box to a 25 count box. This is all the behind the scenes type of stuff of having to deal with, the trademarking and the grandfathering and all this stuff that you got to do. But that sort of worked out great. But the bad part about that is that we had all of these boxes already done for a 20 count box.
Oh,
yeah. They had to throw everything away and start over. Yeah. So that was frustrating. But once it all got done, November, like October, end of October came, and I knew, so I my distributor is Miami Cigars. And so I was communicating with them about getting the cigars in and when we're going to get them in. And so once they gave me a date, I was like, cool, I'm not pausing anymore. I'm having, the cigars are coming in like early the next week. I had an event set, my launch event set for that weekend, that Saturday. And so Jason with Miami Cigars was like, okay, look, we're getting the cigars in on Tuesday. I'm shipping them out to you. They'll get there Friday for your event Saturday. And this was like Sunday before. And I was like, something doesn't sound right with that. Like, I mean, just anything can go wrong, especially with the pandemic hitting or whatever. And the mail not going this. I'm like, something's not right. And something's not going to act up. Something's going to act up. So I looked at my wife with that. I woke up like Sunday morning. I woke up and was like, I'm flying to Miami to get my cigars.
Like, smart move. That's a smart move.
So yeah, so I flew to Miami on Tuesday morning, called Jason, was like, hey, I'm here. He was like, all right, cool. The cigars got here. They're at customs. We're going to get them in a little bit and we'll get them. You can come over and get them. So a Tuesday afternoon hit, Tuesday early evening, and he was like, They're still at customs. They won't be ready till tomorrow, which would have been terrible if I didn't come get them.
No
because
shit. They would have been delayed. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I get over there Wednesday morning. I got one of my close, he's like my brother that lives in Miami. He agreed, whatever, to drive back with me. So I go. We're like we're smugglers or whatever. We roll over to the factory. We load up like 70 or 80 boxes into a Suburban, and we're driving from Miami back to Houston with all the cigars. We get back, man. And that was the best feeling, because I knew once I had them, I'm like, okay, everything's rolling now.
Right.
Everything is rolling now. But yeah, the first event was great. I mean, to get the reaction from the different people, whatever, that were there, that were sitting there smoking it, was a great feeling. And to see all of it come together and the look of it, how everything sort of played out, and knowing that, all the steps were done, and that I didn't sort of cheat myself, at the same time, I didn't cheat whoever the consumer was by cutting corners anywhere.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. One of the things I sincerely admire about your effort, and it shows through your social media for sure, is that your dedication to these cigars is unlike I've seen from anybody else who has that kind of celebrity status. So you'd mentioned earlier that it's like, the effort wasn't about putting your name on something and just putting it out into the ether. It's like, you are at those events, you are coordinating everything, you're with the consumers, you're pushing the cigars, you believe in them to the nth degree. Like this is more than just slap my name on a label and see what happens. It's like, this is something you are insanely committed and dedicated to, which I have not seen from any other cigar manufacturers who are blending stuff for other people. Like it seems like there's just a lesser involvement in that process. I'm not saying that I'm not saying that those folks don't have a love for cigars. I'm sure they do. It's just the dedication level is different. And I can see that. And I admire it to the nth degree. I love when you post photos. It's like you're taking pictures with people. You've got the Arrival background, and it's just all the events look like they're just a killer time. They all look fun. It looks like everything's super well received, but you're always front and center. Like your dedication to that is insanely admirable.
That was the one thing. And I can remember talking with Jason, one of the first conversations we had. And he was telling me, because of course he has seen him being with Miami Cigars and dealing with certain other people, I will say, he's seen the other side of that, of what you're talking about. He's seen the guys who get a cigar out and then, don't want to do events, or don't want to go, or don't want to travel, or don't want to, and he was telling me how dedicated are you into this? And I told him, I said, listen, this is like my baby. This is like me, basically coming from high school to college, or college to the NFL, having to prove yourself, whatever, and being in a different industry or a different level of that industry, and wanting to sort of, put something out there and actually prove yourself, whatever. So I was like, listen, I'm in. I got to travel and go somewhere, whatever. I want to do it. It's not about having to. It's about me wanting to do it and wanting to be there, and not have a third party be my representation being there. And I think that, especially initially, I didn't want to hire some reps and get some brokers to go out and be, okay, take mine to the west, and you take mine to the east, and you go and just let me know what happens. No, because my thing is this, whatever, nobody's going to give the answer to that question better than me. So why send somebody else out there to do it, especially initially? I wanted to be a part of it, definitely.
Us consumers, we call bullshit on celebrity cigars too. So
that's the first thing. And that's the one thing I didn't want to be a part. I didn't want people to look at it and be like, you know what, this is the athlete cigar, and then these are the other cigars. Because it's happened. I mean, the first write-up I did, and the guy, it's probably good. I don't remember his name, whatever. But he's a guy that does crazy good reviews, and people look at what he does. But his first statement was another athlete with a cigar, and that's not what I want. I take that whatever with a grain of salt, because I know the work that I put into it.
Yeah.
So, and I know I didn't try to cut any corners or try to get a shortcut here and there, or try to use, I got this money, whatever, so let me just throw it at this and just see what happens.
Right.
I actually went. I was actually there, and I mean, I was actually in the factory from 9 to 5, or 4 weeks here, 4 weeks there, like I was there putting in the work to where it was like, no,
your time. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I think that's like even in our platform and our show and the collective audience, I mean, their preconceived ideas around what this is and talking to you would probably be very similar. The difference is that you open up a platform to be able to talk about the story and the journey as a whole, and then people become aware of everything that you've put into it. And it's
definitely,
and it shines through on the cigar. The cigar is a great cigar. And I love that it has, so there's this thing about like, there's this thing to me, and Chris knows this, about like traditional Dominican cigars. And even though you have components of the cigars that are strikingly different, like there is an edge to that Dominican style and that flavor that I fell in love with early on into cigar smoking. When I was 19 years old, I fell in love with it. And I've smoked obviously tons of cigars since then, and all different varieties from tons of different countries. There's something about that edge that in Dominican cigars, it's like when I smoke it, I'm like, hell yeah, I'm glad to be here. And your cigar has that. It's just, whew.
I appreciate it. No, that's the one thing. And I've gone to Nicaragua, and of course I've smoked Nicaraguan cigars, whatever, but I've gone to Nicaragua, I've gone to Honduras. I've sort of been in these different spots and different factories and smoked different things. And sort of, my thing was always, and it always brought me back to Dominican Republic, because I just know that the work that, especially with La Hora, I see, and I've learned like the dedications they put from Manny, from Guillermo all the way down. I mean, the rollers and how they roll. I mean, just and the draw that the cigar gets, and these cats are about being precise with what they do, whatever. So I enjoyed it to that extent, to where I'm like, yeah, this is where I want to grow. Even if I'm putting different regions in this cigar, I want it to be coming from here, and then we can sort of play with it here and there. Because of course, I love the fact that, I mean, of course, Cubans are great. I mean, and they're great for their own. And of course, then they have this sort of hype about it too, because they're Cubans.
Right.
But I love the fact that you can actually, and that different countries are open to taking Cameroon or Costa Rica, or just taking and seeing what it could possibly do.
Yep.
And then finding that whatever, to where now it's enjoyable everywhere, because of that different region can bring that little bit of different into it.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that, man. And it's really, you play with so many different things. I've seen so much daggone tobacco. It's like, where is this from now? Like, okay, this is from here, Nicaragua, but it's from this area, which has the volcanoes. Okay, This one here is from this one who has the flatlands, and you smoke, and you're like, oh shit, like, okay, this is what's going on. Like, so just 10 minutes away or whatever, you can get something totally different from this area because of what the soil is doing over here.
It's crazy.
So it makes it so much more interesting, man, to have to be able to just use, okay, let me try this. Let me smoke this by itself and see what it does. And it's a cigar lover's playground, man. And I've enjoyed it.
That's why I think it's never going to get to the point where you could ever say one thing is exactly like the other, because the variety of tobacco, like you just made the perfect statement. Factory right here, factory next door, 2 different soil types.
Yes.
2 different ways of watering, 2 different ways of fermentation process can completely change how each of those combinations of tobacco taste. And that's the cool thing about it, is that you can just play and explore with so much. It almost seems, if you think about it, it seems infinite. And it is infinite because even from year to year, the climate changes, the soil changes in certain areas, in certain regions, which produces vastly different tobacco. It's one thing that I know drives manufacturers nuts, because it's hard to create consistency around really successful
consistency
blends.
is tough. Yeah.
It's tough. Like they'll say, hey, this was a shitty year for tobacco, and hopefully next year will be better. But that's kind of part of the fun of it, I think. And it's probably not as fun for them, but as a consumer, it is, because there's so much exploration that you get to have. Ken, what's next in terms of, well, I would say, what's your continued effort with the Arrival, since it is new? So what do you plan to do in terms of the rest of 2021? And then what's the future? So future blends, you want to expand this thing beyond what it is? Like what is it? What's all holding, past this year?
So moving forward, well, actually next week I have an event with, and this is the best part about it too, being able to partner with different people. And of course, in my profession, the guys that have moved on and are doing different things. I have an event next week with Charles Woodson.
Woodson that's dope.
Yeah, he has a wine. He has a wine and a bourbon that he has. Intercept is the wine. And so we're doing a pairing in Orlando next week.
Awesome.
So that'll be cool. And that's sort of the fun part about it, whatever, because I ended up seeing him. He came to the event that I had at Super Bowl at Davidoff in Tampa, and knew he had the wine, but didn't know he had the bourbon. And he came up, we started talking. He was like, man, we need to look at possibly doing it. Me, you, Ed, whatever, we need to look at possibly doing something. I'm like, hell yeah. Like,
the clash of the safeties, man. Yeah, that's crazy.
Like, so it's like, man, that's cool. I mean, that type of stuff is cool. My thing is really, I don't look at trying to be in every, this is where you have all these different people in your ear, whatever. You need to go over here. You need to go over here. You need to go over here. My thing is that not being in every shop, not even trying to be in every shop. My thing is building a relationship with different shops to where they're helping me, I'm helping them. And right. We can build that relationship and make something happen, whatever, especially if they have the same vision that I have. So, and possibly being in a few shops here and there in different cities, but just growing it on that to where I know whatever, especially making Houston my foundation and Texas my foundation. It's been a great turnaround so far on what's going on with this cigar here in Texas, but growing in different regions, slowly but surely. I told my family in Cleveland, I told guys in Chicago and all of there, listen, I'm not coming there until it gets warm. Because my biggest thing is that like we talked about just a minute ago, is that I like being there. I mean, I like to be able to be there and actually at least have an initial like launch event there to where if there's any questions, there are any thoughts, there are any whatever it is, whatever, I'm there to sort of answer those questions. They can see and ask the person who actually created and be right there. So I don't want to just send some cigars over here and be like, all right, have a good day.
Right.
Because I feel like that's not the direction that I want to go with it. But I want to eventually grow and build it out. But I look at this line, especially as a baseline line where, you know, Padron has the 64 and the 26. Yep. It's going to always be there. Like that cigar is going to always, and I look at different other cigar companies that have their ones that, you know, it's just going to always run. I would like for this one to be one of those baseline cigars to where it's just that's the Arrival, and then you have a change up from there. Mm-hmm. And so I already have a couple of other blends that I've sort of been, and I've, you know, handed to different guys to try and this, that, and the other. They're like, what the hell is this? What's going on with this? And what? So I have one that I tried my best to do, and we'll see how once I get back to DR and me and Manny sort of play with it a little bit more. But it was a Connecticut wrapper, but probably the most full body Connecticut wrapper cigar that you could possibly.
Oh shit! So it had some conception to it, huh?
Oh yeah, and that's the biggest thing. And every time I gave it to somebody, their first thought process is looking at the cigar and say, okay, this is a Connecticut. So they're smoking. And then before they even get into the first, they're like, what in the hell? What's in this cigar? And so that was the sort of thing with that. I mean, I got a couple of other ones that I've done in Honduras that were just different ones that I wanted to play with to see what I could possibly do. But this is the beginning and sort of, like I said, the baseline. And then from here, just seeing what direction. Of course, I want to have something more full body, with more strength, and then just start to sort of, like we talked about, the different regions, start playing with different regions, seeing how you can bring different regions in to get a cigar that keeps people guessing, keeps people thinking, keeps people wondering, I'm getting something different. I like that change up more than just having a cigar that's straight through, just smoking straight through the same. Amen. So finding ways to sort of continuously do that and pique people's interest.
Yeah, that's exactly what. So when Chris and I, in certain cigars we smoke, that it may be a manufacturer that we understand and know for a long period of time, and maybe they have some consistency in terms of flavors. Like you say, hey, this organization really kind of tailors to this kind of profile, and then they come up with something really different, and you smoke it, and you're like, what was that? And it makes you excited because you get to explore something different that you're not necessarily accustomed to. That's my favorite thing in cigars is when a cigar offers me a sense of shock value, I go, holy shit, what is going on here? This is fantastic. And again, there's endless combinations. So I love the idea that you're like continuing to explore that. I think that's really cool.
Definitely.
Now, Ken, we're going to close it out with this. I usually reserve this opportunity to ask Chris questions. In the segment, I call it Chris questions. We're going to call it Ken questions. These questions really come in terms of they have nothing to do with cigars, but just more probably give people a sense of who you are as a human. And some of them are jovial and funny, and some of them are serious. But here's one that I'm going to ask you to start off. What song makes you dance uncontrollably?
I'm an old soul, man. So majority of the time when I get in the car, I have it on an old school like Pandora. I'm always on the Marvin Gaye Pandora channel. Okay. So any jam that comes on from that, I'm jamming. I'm in my zone right there. A lot of the guys in Cigar Lounge, I'm probably one of the youngest guys at the Cigar Lounge.
And you're listening to old school music.
And and I tell them all the time, if something comes on, they're like, Ken, you don't know nothing about that. I always tell them, you can't miss me. Like when I grew up, I mean, especially Sundays, it was old school all day long. I mean, the station never changed. That's what we listened to. And it's crazy because I just went back to Memphis a few weeks ago, and my little sister, who's 23, she turns the radio on and she's listening to old jams. She's singing old jams.
That's awesome.
Old school songs. So anything in that realm, I'm jamming.
I love that. That's awesome. Yeah. Which do you prefer, pigtails or ponytails?
Oh.
Be careful.
I'm gonna say because it's exactly. Yeah. I'm gonna say because ponytails might be a little older. I'm gonna say ponytails.
Have you ever dated someone your parents didn't like?
Yes. Yeah, I dated an actress for a little time, and the problem with her is that she always seemed to be like, you know how you say when they say action, she was never off. It seemed like she was always action, always action. And my mom and my sister, they could not. I had a housewarming party at my condo in Dallas. And I can remember they left and went back to the hotel. They were like, "Oh Lord, she's here. Oh, I'm out." So that didn't last long.
Yeah, I was like, hey, when the family disagrees, you're just like, hey, sage advice. You kind of have to roll with the family advice. They see something. Sure.
Yeah, you start paying attention to certain things a little bit differently. Yeah.
What's the most dangerous thing you've ever done?
Play football.
I was gonna say it seems like an obvious answer, but I didn't know if something trumped that.
I don't know if I'm that adventurous. I mean, I go scuba diving. I'm certified scuba diving, so some people would say that's crazy, but I mean, it's like a calming effect when I'm in the water like that. So I probably would have to say, yeah. I mean, I've swam with the sharks and stingrays and stuff. So I mean, I like that. I was trying to go. I just went to Cabo and we were trying to do the swimming with the. I forgot which whales they were, whatever. But couldn't do that. It was all booked up, whatever. But I like doing stuff like that. I mean, that's a little bit more adventurous for me. But I'm not jumping out of a plane or anything like that. That's not happening.
Hey man, I'm not doing that. My wife and I we were driving earlier, and you ever seen those iFly places where you just kind of float? I told her, I said, isn't the exhilaration of skydiving the fact that you're falling from an airplane? I was like, what kind of exhilaration is on the little fan?
I've done that. I've done the iFly. I could have used that time doing something different. But I don't look forward into free falling. That just
I don't either. I have no aspirations. Yeah, my wife's like, just go skydiving with me. I'm like, I don't have any aspiration to do that whatsoever.
Listen, I told people, because I have a couple of friends who were talking about that. I said, listen, I would be the best cameraman from the ground that you ever see.
I will get
all the footage. I will talk about it a whole way. And just so happen, if that thing to open up, I will be the one to tell a story. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I'm like you. I like adventurous stuff. Like Chris and I used to ride bikes, motorcycles. Yeah. And it's like, we had no problem going 160, 170 miles an hour and being like, there's certain things that I love adventure and I love adrenaline. And there's certain things I'll do. I've swam with sharks. My wife and I open swam with sharks in Hawaii, which was the craziest thing I've probably ever done.
Oh man. Craziest thing for me though, is I took, so I have property in Belize, and I took my kids, and at the time my kids were 5 and 3, and we did so we went swimming, and you do the snorkeling first, and you go around, and they were in the water, and we sort of prepared them. Had my swim instructor come to the house, and so we had that new mask that covers your whole face.
Yeah.
So we had got them those, and they were working with that and doing. Oh, it's nice. And so they were swimming there. Cool. We got out and we went to another area where you swim with sharks, sea turtles, and stingrays and stuff. My son and my daughter jump in the water, and I'm sort of thinking, like, see how they react. We had to pull them out of the water. Like, they didn't want to get out. I mean, it's as soon as you jump in, it's sharks and stingrays and sea turtles everywhere. They like chasing them. Like, I'm like, oh, wow. Like, I mean, I'm still a little hesitant, ready to punch one of them in the nose or something, whatever.
Yeah.
But like, they were just like, they were having a blast, man. So that right there, I mean, and I guess that's the feeling I get when I do scuba diving and stuff like that, is just getting down there and sort of seeing new stuff. And they enjoyed it as well.
Nice. Oh, yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, that was an experience I'll never forget. We saw some good pictures of it. It was a little terrifying. Not that we knew any different, but the captain finally, we were just, free diving with him, and the captain's finally like, all right, everyone, like, come on in. And like, we get to the boat, and I felt like we had a little bit more time left, and we all just kind of climb up onto the boat, and he's like, all right, everybody in. Great. He's like, there's a pack of tiger sharks not too far away, because his son swims way further out and spots for you just to make sure it's just kosher. He's got 2 kids that are with him at all times, just scoping the area. And so his kids alerted him that there was a pack of tiger sharks, because they put out these bait nets, and then all these sharks come in, and he was like, yeah, we encountered a pack of tiger sharks. They're kind of approaching us. So it was good for us to get out of the water.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Which you don't, I mean, obviously when you're out, you feel comfortable.
Exactly.
Holy shit, man. We were like, oh God. All right. I got one last question for you, Ken, before you let you go. What food do you feel would be perfect for a food fight?
Food that would be perfect for a food fight.
And Chris, this is for you too. I have my answer.
I would say probably like sloppy Joe.
That's a good one.
Because the bread is going to stick to you. It's going to bring the weight a little bit more.
Oh yeah.
So you can definitely sling something and get the mess that you really need.
Oh, that's
with a full hand of that. I think that'll work.
That's a sloppy Joe. That's a great answer. Chris, what do you got?
Oh man, I don't know. I'll say cottage cheese with some pineapple slices.
That's horrific.
Oh wow.
All right, I'll end it with saying mine is a Hostess cupcake.
Okay. I can see
that thing is dense. You can really launch them quickly, and they have all that. They have that center that's going to explode on you.
I probably want to eat those afterwards, whatever.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I kind of feel the same way about the sloppy Joe, to be honest with you. I was covered in sloppy Joe.
I definitely.
I think I'd wipe a little off my face and just put
a little cheese in there for me too, just to make sure it's enjoyable. I love
it. Ken Hamlin, this has been awesome, man. Thank you so much. Yeah. I greatly appreciate it. I'm glad we finally got a chance to connect. This is an absolute blast, man. And obvious continued success on your cigar. I love watching you on social media, and I love watching you just grind at all those shops, and these events look so much fun. So we're in Cincinnati, Ohio. Yeah. If you ever make your way up this way, I will be at your event, hands down.
I will be coming that way. I know I'll know within the next month or so when I'm going out to Cleveland, but I got a couple of buddies that's still in Cincinnati, whatever. So I will definitely let you know, and we definitely will link up and smoke one for sure.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Well,
I appreciate y'all having me on too, man. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a great night, my friend, and we'll be in touch.
All right, talk with y'all later.
All right, see you, Ken.
All right.
Look at that, Ken Hamlin.
Ken Hamlin
finally joined the show. How cool is that?
Ben Camplin.
Dude, is he not like the nicest dude?
He is very nice.
It makes me feel bad about jokingly going hard in the paint at him.
No,
and I didn't realize his sister is the one that told him. I feel really bad.
Like they just fucking dished it out to you on social media.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Dude, so what a fucking good guy. And you know what? It's like you could have this interview take 3 hours because I know the guy's got stories. I mean, all the football stuff and just his way and just inception into cigars. There's so much to talk about, but I really wanted to hit like the fine points of everything he was doing. And I feel like we did that. It's such a cool conversation.
It was all very confusing to me because like you guys were talking about, I guess, the sport football.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't even know if once anybody talked about actually kicking anything. And it's very,
Chris, I don't know. Football.
The sport is confusing to me.
Football, not football.
Why do you wear pads and helmets if you're supposed to just use your feet? Yeah. I don't get it.
I know. It's super strange, right?
It is.
Still honestly don't know. Real talk. I don't know why we still call it football. It's like they should have just changed the name.
It
makes no sense.
No.
You have European soccer, which is, you have soccer that's recognized across the world except in the US, really, to the degree that it should be, and is arguably the most popular sport in the world.
You literally kick the so-called football probably less than 5%.
I know, it's weird. Soccer is very intentionally named football because it's foot and ball, but football I would have been cool with
handball.
You know what's kind of, you know what pisses me off? Or throw ball,
which is like baseball, and baseball makes sense because there's bases, so maybe it's goal ball or upright balls or
just I think throw ball, honest. Well, then you run too. So I guess you couldn't call it move ball, which is essentially just rugby.
Pretty much.
Yeah. I never understood that. It's like, come on, dude, what are we doing? It's like, we wanted to gain our independence from European countries, specifically Britain, obviously.
I feel like it was
but we wanted to name it the same shit. Like,
I think it was very lazy. They spent a lot of time on rules and no time on naming.
Yeah. They're like, they had their first sanctioned game and they go, guys, we don't have a name for this.
What do we call this thing?
We have announcers in the booth. What are we supposed to call this?
Well, there's people that like throw balls. Yeah, but we got people that kick it too. That's true.
That's true. Good point. God, it's so stupid.
But they could also just hold on to it. So maybe run ball. No, but they throw it in the air too. Someone's got to catch it. Catch ball. I don't know.
Yeah, but they don't always catch it either, though. Yeah, that is weird. That is kind of strange. Anyway, that was so much fun.
Gladiator ball.
You could call it that. That actually is the most appropriate, really, because as Ken said, like it is like current time gladiator, and it's rough. Yeah. Those guys hit so hard. When I see hits on TV, I'm like, that guy just died. Like his life just ended.
Yeah.
Dude, his hit on Dante Stallworth is the most sickening hit I think I've ever seen. I was like, there's no way he didn't die for at least 5 seconds. There's no way.
Is that the one you showed me?
That's the one I showed you. Yeah, where it literally looks like, I was like, his spinal cord just snapped.
Yeah.
It's wild. But anyway, I'm super excited we finally got him on. That was just tons of fun. Made my day, honestly.
Yes.
So all right, Chris. This concludes another episode, man. This is 190. 10 more episodes are gonna be at 200. We got to do something special for 200. I have no idea what to do. We really got to do something special.
Does that put us in May? I think it does. Close to, or maybe June.
Yeah. 10 more episodes, a couple months.
Yeah, June.
Yeah, June time frame. We got to do something cool. I have an idea. I don't want to talk about it now. I'll talk to you about it later. But I feel like there's something really cool we could do that. Well, you wouldn't be able to do it. I think I'd be able to do it. It'd be like an off location thing.
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
You have a fucking kid.
Yeah, too many kids.
Yeah. Anywho, all right. Let's conclude this. Daddy's hungry. I think I may go grill. Hold on.
Yeah.
Addis is outdoors. Oh, it's still raining. Look at that.
Yeah.
All righty. This concludes episode 190. Oh, before we leave,
show sponsor.
Cannot forget our show sponsor.
MyCigarPack.com.
Enter promo code HOT10 at checkout, $10 off your first pack. My March pack will be here in a couple days. I'm very excited about it. My last curated pack was the shit, arguably the best one I've seen yet. Don't know how they're going to top it, but I'm really excited to find out. I'm not sure who the factory direct is this month, but you guys will know next week. I think, oh wait, it's the, what is it? The tiger.
It's really very nice artwork by that.
It was initially the Caribbean tiger. It's something different now. Oh, what is it? Is it the horny tiger? The mysterious tiger, which is like a horny tiger. So that'll be the My Cigar Pack factory direct stuff that comes out this month. The fucking logo is dope. Kind of want to get.
Fucking Ken was like a mysterious tiger popping in and out of those plants in his backdrop.
I know. Yeah, it was just like morphing. You know, people are listening to the audio are like, "What are you talking about?" But people see the video, be like, "Did he just keep disappearing?"
He's sneaking in and out of a bush.
Yeah. It's like every time you kind of move backwards, everything just disappeared. Dude, I wish like that. It's actually not a bad idea if you're doing like Zoom virtual videos. Like if you just wanted to disappear from the conversation real quick, you just like, blend into the background. It's not a terrible idea.
And I have a green screen I haven't even used.
I know. I actually was thinking about getting one and then maybe having you do a graphic of us in particular locations. Like we could even do funny ones, but
it should be just me and you in each other's background.
That'd be hilarious. Like you're in my room, I'm in your room. That would be
like, wait, hysterical. If I'm there,
where are you? That would be really funny. Except now it's not even a joke because we told everyone.
Damn
it. We could do some dope shit with backgrounds. Anyway, visit My Cigar Pack, www.mycigarpack.com. Promo code HOT10 at checkout for $10 off your first pack. Also visit our website, www.hotticketweekly.com for reviews. This interview will be posted next week. I did a review launched yesterday. I need to actually post about it, which was, what did I do? Oh, wait.
It was the Sereno.
Oh, fuck, dude. The Sereno Royale. Holy
20th anniversary.
Yeah, you've got to look. Okay, yeah, that is a review you have to check out. I like drew a blank. I can't believe I forgot that. Check out the review, www.hotticketweekly.com. All right, now this officially concludes episode 190. Again, thanks to Ken Hamlin for being on. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We will be back at you next week with episode 191. See you, everyone.